So welcome to the Diplomat with Stephen Taylor. Thank you very much for taking the time out and joining us today. Today, honored to have an amazing young man all the way from Madagascar, Ambassador Sisa Ngombane. How do you say your surname? Is that right?
It's correct. You have said it well, yeah.
Okay. Ambassador, thank you for taking the time out and joining us today all the way from Madagascar. But let's take us back to your early days growing up. Where you were born in South Africa, of course. Where were you born, sir?
No, maybe first to say that I'm not so young at all. I think I'm one of the last people now, almost one step away from retirement.
Oh, wow. But you still look so young. You must tell me your secret, Ambassador.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get to my 64th birthday by December.
Wow. Gosh, you must give me your diet, brother, so I can look like you when I'm 64, eh?
Yes. No, my roots are in the Eastern Cape, Transkei.
Okay.
Solo village, that's where I come from. Right in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the mountains, really.
Oh, wow.
That place has been now made a little bit accessible by the new route that has been done from Umtata to Yugi Edot, which many people use. Yeah. But I'm in the middle of that plateau. That's where my village is.
So that's in the Eastern Cape, you say in the middle of nowhere. So then obviously growing up, there was a lot of challenges for you growing up. Tell us about that.
Yeah, there were, but we were always accepting that we are village boys. The mountains is our playground.
Yes.
A good, clear, unpolluted space with a lot of, we used to compete about how far can you see, and counting the telephone poles along the way. So, wow. And of course, shepherding and hunting and a lot of moving around, but it was good, but no shoes on. I was unlucky because I lost a lot of my toenails in the process.
Oh,
it was
no.
a little bit of rocks to kick around, unfortunately.
Wow. And going to school and that, growing up in the rural areas, where did you go to school?
I've got a school near my place, just a short distance. I was lucky because other people before me, there was no primary school. Actually, there was primary school. Then you would have to go to a bigger village to complete up to what is now grade 7, which was standard 6 then. Yes. But I was fortunate enough that as I was growing up, a few years later, 2 years, I think they started allowing our school to have a grade 7, standard 6, and then. And that allowed me to, I think, the second class of standard 6. That helped a lot, so that I didn't have to travel a lot to do grade 7. All by foot, of course.
And when you were growing up in the Eastern Cape, you said that it was in the middle of nowhere. Was there electricity? Did you have water, things like that growing up, or did you have to go and physically go and get water?
No, we really were using our own rudimentary things. We fetched water from the stream, was close from the stream, and when we have a good bath on Saturdays or something, we go to the river and then wash ourselves, scrub ourselves clean, because then throughout the week you use a washing basin to get ready for school. So of course, with firewood is paraffin lamps and candles, and the place there is cold. It's actually, it snows in my area when wow. Every winter we are likely to get snow. So, wow. So it's a tough place, but we enjoyed it. We never complained. There was a system in the village was simple. You fetch firewood, you stock up for the winter season, And then you go to the fields. Of course, everyone has you've got your immediate plot in front of your yard, which you use for survival. And then there's a bigger plot that we planted maize in. And all hands on the deck, of course, we've got to follow the planting season, harvesting, and then looking after the little livestock, sheep and cattle. And that was it, really. Cool. But it was good for a fulfilling life.
That's the secret, Ambassador. I think that's why you are so young, my friend, because you had to work when you were growing up. I think that I must come and spend a week with you in the Eastern Cape, eh?
No, it's true. And we often worry, Stephen, because we never put a lot that these were skills life, you know. Yeah. And one of the pain of the mass migration to the cities, you lose that discipline of having to wake up, having to do certain things. And that was your family training for you for the future. And it skilled you to understand your environment, to live on it. You might not like it so much, but it made a living up to a point until I complained when I was younger.
It taught you discipline.
Completely. But of course, at that stage, I took note that there was no way I'm going to make a living out of this. There's only one plot of land. It's my father's plot, and we're 4 boys. And there was no more land to be allocated for farming. I would hope to have a field to farm, which is really where the crux of the land issue is for us. That you had to make that choice that only one son will stay here. Other 3 have to go somewhere. Nobody knew where. Maybe look for a job. Yeah.
Sure, that's hectic. It's wow. And things now, since then, when you were growing up to now, is it much the same still where you grew up?
There were improvements. I think 1994, of course, started to see some political figures visiting. Of course, there was Bantustan. It was a Bantustan area. So we had Bantustan ministers of education and agriculture. There was some in Transkei and then Matanzima. And then there was some agricultural cooperatives that were tried to put up. But on the whole, we struggled to get infrastructure. We did struggle. It's only really in the last 6 years or 7 years, then there was electricity that started to come our own way. A big surprise that we saw the power lines being put up. And of course, we always struggled. One of the moments for me and my family was that we couldn't get our vehicle to go to our yard because the roads were so poor.
Wow.
The local roads, the muddy roads, and if it rains, and it rains often there, you wouldn't get out of the village. So up to 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, that's only then we could have a proper dry, dirty road with the proper filtration, sandstone and all that.
Sure. Okay, so that's an amazing history lesson. When you come to Cape Town or South Africa again, I must come and visit your area. I'd love to see that. But now moving forward, Ambassador, to your role in government, where did it all start for you?
It's before government, really. I think because the journey really for me is really, it's a continuous journey from growing up, getting to exposure to South African politics of the time, which was just after the Pondo revolt, that very, very intense history in our country, when there was mutinies, villagers fighting, and a few incidents, and that draw in presence of the South African army then, even to our village, because it was the Pondori village was a rural uprising, really. So it all started to come in a very, very fast way that there's another world there, things are happening, and one had to wake up. And you see a lot of old men being bundled in these pickup vans and all that, being taken away. So that's when it really started. Of course, later on, we got to know Mandela was not far from where we lived and other leaders. So we're always in the midst of this politics. So then, of course, I didn't want to be political, and I avoided as much as I can. And I managed to do my high school and complete it in 1975, actually.
Wow.
And then what happens next? With 7 children, what happens next? I had to get a job. I couldn't go to university. I had a university exemption, I couldn't. So I had to get a job. So I went to Johannesburg, of course, and worked for 1 year, tried to make some savings, and then then it was 1976, of course. I mean, it was all happening.
Yes.
But I stuck it out and said, look, I want to go to university. And managed to get to university in 1977.
Well done.
And at University of Fort Hare. And it so happened it's the year that again, Steve Biko was going to die in September, which traumatized all of us. So it's all been happening until then in my life. Reluctantly, the issue of exile comes up, and then one leaves South Africa in 1980. And I left and through Lesotho, that was it. Sure. Left home and then started the journey to nowhere. Sure. But there were people, the ANC were there. Trisani was one of the people who received us with warm hands and became a brother when we have left our families and a comrade. And of course, we did the journey until for me to really come back was 1994.
Sure. So you spent 14 years in Lesotho?
No, I was all over the place, of course.
Okay. Oh, you're moving around?
Yes, I mean, the whole exile period then is 1994. We moved around, we moved to, from Lesotho, my group, we moved to Russia then. And 2 years of complete studies, academic studies actually. And then got back to Angola for military training, and which was good because it was done by South Africans. Yes. And young South Africans training us and showing us those who have been there before us. A very uplifting type of thing where we're all saying, look, we're in this together. We can make things happen and take the lack of amenities, lack of food, the basic infrastructure of a bush environment, with all the high spirits that we mastered. We're lucky because some of our groups had come together, the batches from Fort Hare University and others. So it was not so lonely. That was what happened. And then one came back then and started to be very, very involved now in terms of the secret underground work. And our first mission for me and some of my colleagues was Lesotho again. So it's a full cycle. I get to Lesotho again and then got arrested and deported, and then I had to start again.
Were you part of MK?
Yes, I was.
Okay. So that is still active now. That's still around. Mkhonto we Sizwe, the members are still, does that still exist, MK? Or it's the veterans?
Yes, we have what is MK veterans.
Yeah.
But we have to accept, Stephen, that there was integration of all the armed entities
Yes.
In 1994, and we all had to go and submit ourselves to that process. And therefore, for myself, an MK veteran, I also had to be integrated, and I went and got integrated and got my rank as a lieutenant colonel in the new National Defense Force. Wow. And therefore, all of us who were former entities, we got integrated in one army, whether you actually were active there, but we got our ranks, and we decided then that we'll pursue different careers, but having gotten our official military ranks. And actually, out of that process, which was important, it was part of the history that people don't know about. Out of that process, we were given some pension and retirement. I always tell people that I get my current salary in the DIRCO, which was DFA before.
Yeah.
But I also have my service record salary. It's not much, but I get that every end of the month, like any people who served before, non-statutory forces. So there is an amount that I get. It's 5,000 rands now.
Okay.
But it's important because it recognizes the service that I did to my country when I could not be paid since 1980. Right.
The role that you played in MK, yes, I like that.
Yes.
That's very cool. I like that. So, Ambassador, so after that, you involved in the army, MK. Did you get into any political roles, government roles, or how did you end up getting involved in DIRCO, being an ambassador?
Yes, for me, really, the journey, as I told you, from Lesotho and then Zambia, Botswana, and then Botswana, it ends for me there. I return, I get again moved back to Zambia, where I started what would be my first steps in the diplomatic field, where I started working what was then called the ANC Chief Representative Office, because ANC had a headquarters, political headquarters in Lusaka, but they had the representational office to the government of Zambia. So I joined that office, which was headed by the late veteran Ndlovu. He was the chief representative then. I joined there, and it didn't take me long. Then I was again moved because at that moment when I joined, we had some defining moments in terms of ANC representation abroad. We had the unfortunate killing of Darcy September in Paris, shot dead, opening her office in Paris. I think that was 1988. Yeah. And then there were other convalescents happening, and then we had Brussels, Belgium, the late Godfrey Mutsipe being shot at. So the leadership then decided that, no, let's find some of our people who are experienced in this type of thing. Yeah. There's a lot of danger lacking what is supposedly safe places for ANC representation. So a call was made that I must move. And for me, I moved to Belgium, Brussels.
Oh, wow. Okay.
In 1999. And joined the late again, Ted Begane then, who was the head of the office in Belgium. Okay. And Luxembourg, and of course.
Okay, so then you started in Belgium. Where did you move from there?
I will stay in Belgium because that's where the representation took place. And then the events, of course, happened. The 1989, when all the political parties were unbanned, And then I was on the ground to receive the late former President Nelson Mandela on his first visit to Belgium and to the European community.
Sure. Okay, so that's an amazing journey. That's an amazing story. But now let's fast forward to your role as the ambassador in Madagascar. Where is Madagascar, if I may ask?
Madagascar is an island.
Okay.
They call themselves a big island, as they call themselves in French, Grande Île. So it's obviously the physical, when you look at it on the map, you can't mistake that it's part of Africa. It's just drifted away a little bit from the continent, but it's part of Africa.
Yes.
It's really 3 hours away by flight from South Africa and really nearby. And I must say that I've always heard about Madagascar, known it's there, but it's my first visit through this posting. And it's been a nice surprise, of course, to know what is at your doorstep and really say, look, here's the country. It's always been there, waiting to be explored, and I've never taken time to find a reason to be here.
Is it a good holiday destination?
It's quite popular, actually, for South Africans who like the tropical weather up north. And the South African Airlink actually has 2 flights, one to the capital, Antananarivo. The second one is the hotspot for tourists, Nose Bay. So those flights are actually the ones that service the South African contact with Madagascar. And
the food in Madagascar, what is the food like? Is it much the same as South Africa or different?
To be honest, I've not tried to experiment. And of course, it didn't help because then COVID, we arrived in February the 20th. A few weeks later, then there was the lockdown. Even here. We just managed to present our letters of credence to the president, and then there was a complete lockdown. So we're not moving, but people here produce vegetables, produce rice, produce almost everything that they need for sustenance. And that's what they eat. Of course, they've got their local rice, different colors, they've got beans, they've got a little bit of maize. They don't eat pap like we do, as much as we do. Of course, they eat cassava. So there's a little bit of many things that they are doing, which are common in most of the African countries anyway. A lot of fish, of course. Sometimes Antananarivo is not at the coast, but you still get fish, all sorts of fish, frozen fish, prawns, and things being sold on the streets, of course, here. Everything is being sold on the streets.
Ambassador, I think we have to make a plan to get you back because the time has just gone so quickly, my friend. We'll have to make a plan to get you on again because we've just had such a great conversation. I think we need to continue it at some time.
No, sorry for that. Sorry, because it's a longer story. Sorry, because it is...
No need to apologize, brother. Well, it's an excuse for us to continue the conversation again. I like that.
No, okay. No, it's accepted.
No, thank you, Ambassador Sisa Ngombane, Ambassador for South Africa in Madagascar. Thank you for the great work that you are doing there, and we absolutely will get you on again, my friend. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure, really, to be on your channel, Stephen. Keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you, my friend. So there we go, another amazing episode of The Diplomat. Make sure that you are interacting with the show at Stephen Taylor SA on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thank you very much to the Ambassador for South Africa and Madagascar. But thank you to you for watching the show. I really do appreciate it. Interact, let us know what you think. Maybe you want somebody on the show. Please share your thoughts. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you to Akona, thank you to Papi, and thank you to you. God bless.